Welcome back to another tutorial about the Korg Pa5X. In this tutorial we are going to take a look at how to save and load backups. Using backups is the most important thing when using a Pa5X, because all your hard work can be lost if you load things from the internet or when you make mistakes deleting things. It's also really convenient to have backups when you are going to experiment with the features on the Pa5X. This way you can always revert back to the Pa5X you had when creating the backup. And this is really important, because in the next tutorials we are going to take a look at sampling features, creating sound with samples and lots of other things. And for these tutorials you want to experiment a lot. And in such cases you can do your tests in a really easy way. This tutorial will show you how to create backups, load backups, but also how to restore certain parts and even one sound or style from a backup. But first let's start creating a backup. So I've added a new USB stick to my Korg Pa5X. There isn't anything on it yet. And if you add a new USB stick to your Pa5X, then it's always wise to format it on your Pa5X itself. That's easy to do. Just press the File button, go to the Drives element on your screen, and select the USB stick that you have inserted. Then go to the menu on your screen and select Format. And give it a name and press OK, and it will be formatted. Well, it's a new one, so we can press OK. It says, do you want to format the selected media? All data will be deleted. So be sure that you have selected that specific USB stick and say yes. So now it will format the USB stick. That takes some time, and then eventually you will get this screen that it's formatted. And this is a 120 gigabyte USB stick, so we can add a lot of backups or other material on it. Okay, now how do you create a backup? Well, first of all, what is a backup? Well, backup is basically everything that your Pa5X is doing now. It's a complete copy of the Pa5X that you are using at the moment. So when you create a backup, you can always refer to the Pa5X in the state that it is in now. So whatever is on it will be saved in the backup. So how do you do that? Well, so when you press the File button, you will get a section Internal and Drives, and depending on which is activated, in my case the Drives is activated, you can see the marker around it, you will see a specific screen. And on this screen you will see all the drives that you have attached to the Korg Pa5X. And we are going to use this one, which is empty now, for the backups. So to save my backups, I like to have a folder on this USB stick, so let's make a folder and say New Folder. Give it a name, and I'm going to name this one Backups Pa5X. So and now I have a folder called Backups Pa5X, so I can use that one to store my backups in. So to create backups you have to be on the internal system, because you want to create a backup from the internal Pa5X. So press that button and then you will get this screen. It could be that you are already in some specific area. In that case, press the up button as many times until they are grayed out, and you see the all button. So that means that we are going to save everything that is in the Pa5X. And if you don't want that, then it's also possible to go directly to a style section. For instance, if you only want to create a backup of a certain section. Let's say that I want to save my song styles, and you see all my song styles that I created, and I want to save that one. Then just hit the song styles directory, and if you are going to save that, then you are only going to save the song styles instead of the complete backup, which goes much faster. But that also means that you only will have a backup of that song styles. And you can even select one, or by holding shift multiple. And now we are going to only save those 3. So that's the way the system works. And we don't want this. Press the up button again until you see the all. And now we are going to create a backup. And that's really easy to do. Press the menu button, select save. And now we have to say, hey, where are we going to save it? Well, we are going to save it up on the new USB stick in the backups directory. So if we are going to save that, then it says please select a valid KST directory. KST file is basically the directory file which going to hold all your elements, and you can browse it later on. Well, let's create one. Press the dots and select create new KST, and you can give it any name you want. I like to call it BCK from backup, and then the date I created this backup, because I back up a lot, because I also changed a lot in the Pa5X. So and give it the date of today. So that's now my naming convention, BCK 26th of August in 2023. Press OK, press OK again, and now that KST file is created in the QRUSB backups Pa5X folder, and there's a KST file for that. The replace all means if it's a new one, then it's no issue at all. If you want to update your existing backup, then you can do that, and you have to say replace all, and everything that you are going to save in it will be replaced by the new state of your element. But to be honest, I wouldn't do that unless you know what you're doing. Just create new backups so that you can always refer to a specific moment in time. So don't use that replace all, it's not needed. Just create new KST files. Well, now we are going to press save. And it says please wait. Now, depending on how much information is in your Pa5X, this can take quite a while, especially when you are using a lot of samples, and I am using a lot of samples. This process can take up till 15-20 minutes, I think. So it takes a lot of time to create that backup, which is fine. I'm going to drink a cup of coffee and then we are going to return to this tutorial. But for the sake of this tutorial, I will speed up this process now. And we will continue at the end of the backup. So the backup is saved now on the USB stick, and we can look through the drives section on the QRUSB backups KST folder. And we see that the backup is over here. Now, this looks like a KST folder, and whenever you want to restore that backup on your Pa5X, just select it and press load, and says replace all. That means that your entire internal setup is replaced by whatever is in that backup. So whenever you run into trouble or want to refer to a specific moment in time, then just get the backup that you created, select the replace all, and the entire system is replaced with that contents of that backup. Now, what is in the backup? Well, basically this is your internal disk, but then in the backup. So we can select, for instance, the styles, and we see all the styles that I have on my set. So when I press the song styles, for instance, then you see all the song styles that I created, and it's in the backup. So that's a good thing. Whenever I screw something up or delete something, I can easily restore it from that backup. But you can also see the sounds that I have. So you see the user 1. If you open that one, you see all the sounds of that user 1 element. And you can even copy one out of that backup by pressing it and select load. And you can load it anywhere you want. So you can load single items or multiple items by holding shift. Then now I would load these 3 from the backup if I make a mistake. The songbook settings are there. The PCM contains all the samples. You can't see them, but they are in that directory. The chord sequences, keyboard sets, well, basically everything that you have done is in this backup. The keyboard sets, your own libraries that you create. No, whatever you like. It's all in the backup system, so that is really convenient. So let me mess up a few things in my Korg Pa5X, and then we are going to restore it from that specific backup that we created. So let's see. We have the factory settings, and I have my own styles that I created, and I have a lot of them, and I want to delete one of them. But for instance, I didn't select one, but I selected the library. So I press delete, and now I'm going to delete it from my Pa5X, not from the backup, but from my Pa5X. So delete it. So now I've made a mistake and all my styles are gone. And if I didn't make a backup at first, then all my work was gone, and that was a lot of work to create all those styles. So I don't have them anymore. They aren't in the system anymore. So I have to add them again. So luckily we have the backup. So let's add that specific QR styles directory again to my styles directory because I made a mistake and I want it back. Well, how do you do that? Press the file button. And let's say that we are going to the QR USB stick. We are going to the backup, and I know, hey, on that date, it was fine. 26/08/23. So let's go to the styles. And I say, hey, the QR styles section, this one, I want to load them back into my internal Pa5X. So I've selected that QR styles section and press load. And now it says, hey, from the source, that backup, to the bank QR styles. I can also load it in a different bank, but I want my original bank again. And select load. So now it loads the styles from my USB stick backup. And when I go to the style section again, then luckily that directory with all my styles from that moment are back again. So if I want to play them, well, they are simply over here. So really nice. And the same applies, for instance, if I delete a specific style. So let's say I want to delete the Fields of Gold style. I delete it from my internal Pa5X, and later on I just want that style back. Well, it isn't in here anymore. So I'm going to my backup again, go to the backups Pa5X, the KST file, go to the style section, go to the QR styles, and I select Fields of Gold and press load. And I say, hey, load it again. And when I go now to my QR styles, luckily the style that I incidentally removed is there again. And it also applies to all kind of things that you are going to change. Let's say that we are going to have a song style, and I'm going to mess up one of the song styles when I'm working with it. So let's select a style and let's make some mistakes so that we can load that style, replace that style again. This is the original style that I created. So let's say that we are going to mess up some of the parts. So let's remove the drums. Let's use a make it really So now I've completely messed up this style, and I save the style. So that means whenever I go back now to that style again and I want to use it, then I've messed up my style. So it will sound now like this. And I know that in my backup is a good version of that, and I want to revert the things that and my tests that I did. So press the file again, go to the QR song styles and select that El Condor Pasa, load, and now we are going to say, hey, load it again. So it's there again, and when we select it again, now it will be correct. Now it's reverted all those changes again to our backup. So you can select everything or parts of it. I've showed it now with styles, but you can do the same with your keyboard sets. It's all the same. If I remove my piano library, let's do it quickly. Now I've lost all the pianos now. Go to the file, the backup, go to the keyboard sets, say the piano lib, press load, and add it again to your internal system. And when we are going to look now, all the pianos are there again. So really convenient to have it on your USB stick on your internal drive. Also keep in mind that when you are going to create backups on the Korg disk, on this one, then probably you can't save a backup on this because this disk isn't that big. And especially when you're using a lot of samples, then you can't save it on this disk. There's not enough room for that. So you can use internal disk. The SD1 is a very fast port, so your backups will go a lot quicker than on the USB stick. But when you have it on the USB stick, you can also copy it to your computer and save it in the cloud, for instance, so that you never lose all your work. So that's basically how the whole backup and save system works. We have looked at creating a backup by pressing all or saving a specific set. If I only want a bonus thing set, just select it, and now it will save only that bonus set. Or if you go to the top set, then it will save everything that is in your system. And the same applies for loading backups again. Go to the drive section. Go to the section where you have your backups, select that one, press load, and say replace all if you want to have the full image restored, or go to specific areas that you want to restore, for instance a keyboard set and that element, and then press load, and then you can only load that element or that series of elements. And if you want 3 or 4, hold the shift button and select them, and then you can load those couple of them. So that's basically all there is to it. And sure, it takes a long time to create a backup. In my case, it took about 30 minutes on a USB stick and around 15 minutes on a micro SD slot. But in your case, it will go much quicker. And it's essential that you have backups when you make a mistake, or when you are loading things in your system, or just are experimenting, learning things. Then you can always revert back to your working order again, and don't mess up the system. So that's it for now. Not much to showcase of the sounds of the Pa5X. And really important to know how this works in any scenario, just like I showed you. Because in the next tutorials we are going to work with samples. Then you can create sounds like this. So these kind of sounds you can only create when you add your own samples to them, to the system. And that's why it's so important to learn how to create backups and load certain parts of it, because from that backup you can safely experiment with the samples later on in the next tutorials and can easily restore it to your factory state. In this way you will be much more confident doing all the things I'm going to show you in the next tutorials. So that's why this tutorial is so important, and you need to have that backups, or when you just want to refer it to a specific moment. So that's it for now, and hope to see you in the next tutorial.